The shrill buzz of a phone shattered the silence of our home, a seemingly innocuous sound that would unravel the fabric of my life. Little did I know that answering that call would plunge me into a world of betrayal, espionage, and a love tested beyond its limits. I never thought I'd be the guy who catches his wife cheating through a phone call. But here I am, my world shattered by a conversation I was never meant to hear. It was just another mundane Tuesday evening. I had come home early from work, looking forward to surprising Roche with takeout from her favorite Thai place. As I pulled into our driveway, I noticed her car wasn't there. Strange, I thought, since she usually worked from home on Tuesdays. I let myself in, the house eerily quiet. That's when I heard it, the faint buzz of Roche's phone vibrating on the kitchen counter. Without thinking, I picked it up, assuming it was her calling to let me know she'd be late. But the voice on the other end wasn't Roche's. It was a man's voice, deep and unfamiliar. "Hey baby, I'm outside. Are you ready?" My blood ran cold. I froze, unable to speak as the stranger continued. "I can't wait to see you. Last night was incredible." In that moment, everything I thought I knew about my marriage crumbled. 6 years of trust, love, and shared dreams, gone in an instant. I hung up without saying a word, my mind reeling. As I sat there, numb with shock, memories of the past few months began to surface. The late nights at work, the sudden interest in her appearance, the guarded way she held her phone. All the signs had been there, but I'd been too blind, too trusting to see them. The sound of a car pulling up snapped me out of my daze. Through the window, I watched as Roche stepped out, looking radiant in a dress I'd never seen before. She was smiling, a secret, satisfied smile that made my stomach churn. "Honey, I'm home." Roche's cheerful voice rang out as she stepped through the door. The moment she saw me, her smile faltered. "Oh, you're home early? Is everything okay?" I stood there, frozen, the weight of what I knew crushing me. "Who were you with just now, Roche?" My voice was barely above a whisper, her face paled. "What are you talking about?" "Don't lie to me," I said, my voice growing stronger. "I heard him on your phone. Who is he?" Roche's facade crumbled. She sank onto the couch, her head in her hands. "I'm so sorry, Tom. I never meant for this to happen." As she began to explain, each word felt like a knife twisting in my gut. His name was Stanley, a client she'd met through her interior design work. What started as innocent flirtation had spiraled into a full-blown affair over the past 3 months. "Why?" I asked, my voice breaking. "Wasn't I enough?" Roche looked at me, her eyes brimming with tears. "It's not about you, Tom. I lost myself somewhere along the way. Stanley made me feel alive again." As the night wore on, more painful truths came to light. The affair wasn't just emotional, it had been physical too. They'd met in hotel rooms, stolen moments in his car, even in our own home when I was away on business trips. Each revelation felt like another crack in the foundation of our marriage. I paced the room, alternating between rage and despair. How could I ever trust her again? How could we move past this betrayal? As dawn broke, we sat in exhausted silence. The weight of unspoken questions hung heavy between us. Could we rebuild what had been broken? Or was this the end of everything we'd built together? I looked at Roche, the woman I'd loved for so long, now a stranger to me. "I need time," I said finally. "I can't make any decisions right now." The weeks that followed were a blur of sleepless nights and agonizing decisions. I moved out, staying with a friend while I tried to make sense of my shattered world. Roche called and texted constantly, begging for another chance, but I couldn't bring myself to respond. I threw myself into work, staying late at the office to avoid the emptiness of my temporary living situation. But no matter how hard I tried, I couldn't escape the constant replay of Roche's confession in my mind. It was during one of these late nights that I met Sarah, a new colleague who had just transferred to our department. She noticed my distraction and offered a sympathetic ear. Before I knew it, I was pouring out the whole sordid story. "Have you considered couples therapy?" Sarah asked gently. I scoffed. "How can therapy fix betrayal?" She smiled sadly. It's not about fixing the betrayal. It's about understanding why it happened and deciding if there's anything worth salvaging. Her words stuck with me. The next day, I finally returned one of Roach's calls. I'm willing to try counseling, I said, my voice tight, but I'm not making any promises. Our first session was awkward and tense. Roach cried, I remained stoic, and our therapist, Dr. Anderson, observed it all with a calm demeanor that I found both reassuring and infuriating. As the weeks passed, we delved deeper into the issues that had led to Roach's infidelity. I was forced to confront my own role in our marital problems, my emotional distance, my workaholic tendencies, my failure to notice her growing unhappiness. It wasn't easy. There were sessions where I wanted to walk out, to give up on the whole process. But slowly, painfully, we began to rebuild trust. Just as I began to rebuild my life, another bombshell dropped. A woman named Claire called me, revealing a chilling truth. Stanley wasn't who he claimed to be. He was a serial con artist, targeting women in powerful positions to gain access to sensitive information. My mind reeled. Was Roach not just a cheater, but a victim of manipulation as well? I met Claire, and she showed me evidence of Stanley's past cons. Police reports, newspaper clippings, and even a restraining order painted a picture of a man far more dangerous than I had realized. After much internal struggle, I decided to share this information with Roach. When we met, I could see the toll our separation had taken on her. She looked tired and defeated, a far cry from the vibrant woman I had married. As I shared Claire's revelations, Roach's face went through a range of emotions: shock, disbelief, and finally a dawning horror as the pieces fell into place. "Oh God," she whispered, her voice breaking. "What have I done?" In that moment, I realized that the path to healing might be more complicated than I had initially thought. This wasn't just about infidelity anymore. It was about recognizing the complex web of deceit we had both been caught in. The following weeks were a whirlwind of activity as Roach and I worked together to unravel Stanley's web of lies. We contacted the authorities, providing them with all the information we had gathered about his fraudulent activities. As we delved deeper into Stanley's past, we discovered that the espionage betrayal went far beyond just my company. He had been systematically targeting businesses across the city, using his charm and manipulative tactics to gain access to confidential information. Roach, racked with guilt, cooperated fully with the investigation. She provided detailed accounts of her interactions with Stanley, helping the police build a stronger case against him. During this process, I found myself in the strange position of working alongside the woman who had betrayed me. Our interactions were tense at first, fraught with unresolved emotions and lingering resentment. But as we focused on the task at hand, I began to see glimpses of the woman I had fallen in love with years ago. As the investigation progressed, we learned more about Stanley's tactics. He had a talent for identifying vulnerabilities in people and exploiting them mercilessly. In Roach's case, he had preyed on her insecurities about our marriage and her career, gradually manipulating her into believing that what she was doing would somehow benefit us both. Understanding the depth of his manipulation didn't erase Roach's responsibility for her actions, but it did help me see the situation in a new light. The black and white certainty I had felt about our marriage crumbled, replaced by shades of gray that I was still struggling to navigate. The day Stanley was arrested was a bittersweet victory. As I watched the news coverage, I felt a sense of closure, but also a deep sadness for all the lives he had disrupted, including ours. In the aftermath of his arrest, Roach and I found ourselves at a crossroads. The immediate crisis was over, but the damage to our relationship remained. We both knew we had a long road ahead if we wanted to rebuild what we had lost. After much soul-searching, I agreed to continue couples therapy. Through these sessions, we confronted the issues that had led to the breakdown of our marriage. I realized that I had been emotionally distant, too focused on my career to notice Roach's growing unhappiness. She in turn acknowledged her failure to communicate her needs and her vulnerability to Stanley's manipulation. Rebuilding trust was a slow and painful process. There were days when I questioned whether it was worth the effort, whether the wounds were too deep to heal. But there were also moments of connection, glimpses of the love we had once shared that kept me going. Roche worked hard to regain my trust, not just through words, but through actions. She found a new job, one that allowed her to use her design skills while maintaining clear boundaries with clients. She was patient with my mood swings and moments of doubt, never pushing for more than I was ready to give. As months passed, I found myself slowly letting go of the anger and resentment I had been carrying. It wasn't easy, and there were setbacks along the way. But gradually, I began to see Roche not as the woman who had betrayed me, but as a flawed human being who had made a terrible mistake and was genuinely trying to make amends. 1 year after Stanley's arrest, Roche and I decided to renew our vows. It wasn't a grand ceremony, just a small gathering of close friends and family who had supported us through the darkest period of our lives. As we stood facing each other, reciting promises that now carried the weight of everything we had been through, I realized that our love had been transformed. It was no longer the naive, untested emotion of our first wedding. This was a love tempered by pain, strengthened by forgiveness, and deepened by the shared experience of nearly losing everything. Looking into Roche's eyes, I saw not just my wife, but a partner who had walked through fire with me and emerged stronger on the other side. As we sealed our vows with a kiss, I felt a sense of peace wash over me. The road ahead would not be easy, but I knew that together, we had the strength to face whatever challenges lay ahead. Our story was not one of perfect love, but of real, messy, human love. A love that could withstand betrayal, forgive the unforgivable, and find beauty in the process of healing and redemption. Have you ever faced a moment that shattered your world and forced you to question everything you thought you knew about love and trust? Our journey from betrayal to redemption is a testament to the resilience of the human heart. If you've ever struggled with forgiveness or wondered if a broken relationship can be mended, this story might just give you the hope and courage you need. Share your own experiences of overcoming betrayal in the comments below, and let's start a conversation about the power of forgiveness and the strength it takes to rebuild trust.